welcome back to another Frugal Modeler episode. That's right, it's been about a year and a half, almost 2 years since I did a Frugal Modeler installment where I tried to show you guys how to save money and stretching your dollar in this great but expensive hobby. In this little series that's coming up, this is going to be the intro video. We're going to focus on how to take older non-DCC compliant turnouts and converting them to being DCC friendly, so all your sound equipped or DCC locomotives can run with no problems. So when we get back to this video, we'll get on with the series. So let's talk turnouts. So in pre-DCC, DC only controlled model railroading, your typical turnout like this pre-Walther's original Shinohara turnouts, which I think are one of the best for the main reason they look like hand-laid because everything is metal on these, including the guide rails here and the frog. So the older type switches, they had a solid non-insulated or not gapped frog, and the point rails, when they made contact with either opposing rail, were power routing. Because as you can see here, there's a little brass strip underneath, and here this has a brass contact underneath, pretty much continuing the same polarity all the way through. Basically what happens there, because of small gaps or constant current issues, DCC locomotives do not like this, and the systems causing the system to shut off to protect itself from a surge, or basically the engines will stall or have very jerky movement across the turnout. A more modern turnout, and this is one of the Shinohara turnouts I converted, has a gapped insulated frog where you can power it or non-power it. You have proper polarity going from one rail to the adjoining rail past the points before the frog, and the same on the other opposing rail, and usually you have continuous flow to the point rails. And you also have power routing from opposite rail to the same side rail past the frog, so you have continuous electrical flow through the turnout, preventing any stalls or overloading of your DCC system to shorten it or turning it off. So when we get back, I'll explain to you a little bit more why this conversion process is a good idea. So why go through the process of spending your time and a little bit of effort to partially or fully rebuild your turnouts to make them older non-DCC friendly turnouts to new DCC friendly turnouts? Well, there's a few reasons. You might have an existing layout that isn't ballasted yet, and you have been running DC trains and you want to go into DCC operations, but you really don't want to spend the money on buying all new turnouts, especially since new turnouts range anywhere from $20 to $40 a pop. The better quality ones like Pico or Micro Engineering or the Walther's Shinohara Streamline switches, they usually range in the high 20s to mid 40s depending on the number of size of turnout. So that's the one reason. Number two reason, you might be at a swap meet or a train show and you see an amazing deal on some turnouts. You buy them, you take them home, and you realize, oh shoot, they're not DCC friendly. Now what do I do? This is what happened to me. You know me, saving money, being frugal. I actually found an amazing deal on a local sales site. A guy was selling a bunch of his Pico 100 Streamline track and old Shinohara Welvers switches. I bought about 10 switches, each one roughly, the average turnout roughly being about 15 bucks a pop, so I couldn't pass that out. And I did really want to go with the Walver Shinohira anyways, because they have the full metal frog and alignment rails. And the final reason is you might just want to go and change your old toy-like look of your turnouts to more hand-laid. And what I mean by toy-like, most even modern have this little gap where you can see it kind of hinging. Non-prototypical. Real turnouts on the rails are not like that. They're more of this type where it just looks like a solid rail, which you can see here. It moves like a solid rail, more like a hand-laid turnout. So it just makes them look a little more prototypical. So when we come back with this video, I'll show you the tools and materials needed to do a partial quick conversion to an overall overhaul of a turnout where needed, depending on brand. More with this video. So the things you'll need for this project obviously is your turnout. Some of the tools you're going to need are as follows. You're going to be needing a sharp X-Acto knife for cutting the ties, some small fine hobby files to do some file work and cleaning if needed, a good pointy electronic grade soldering iron, or any soldering iron as long as there's a nice fine point. I'm using a 25 water. A Dremel tool that will have a nice either a nice metal drill bit or this fine diamond kind of etched multi drill bit that I have on it, and some cutoff wheels for your Dremel, and fine core coarse resin core solder, I meant to say, and flux is very important. As for the materials you're going to need for this conversion is either, I'm using Atlas code 180 or 83 universal rail joiners. They seem to be snug but also nice and loose to create your new joint on your points. You will need either a copper clad fiberglass PC board from Amazon, or you can actually get the same material through Fast Tracks or any other build your own turnout places. They usually sell them pre-cut or on a fretboard. I was gonna go the Fast Track way. It would cost me about $8 for the pre-cut the pre-cut PC boards, but they wanted $20 for shipping, so I was going to pay double the amount for shipping as the product. So I ended up buying 10 4x5 PC board sheets from Amazon. They're 4 millimeters thick, so which is really close to the thickness of the tie. You will need some styrene strips, either evergreen or plus struct, just to kind of position your points in a center position while you solder them to the new PC tie, and also to do your little strips for insulating the frog once you cut it. And that's all you're going to need for this project. Before I forget also, I like to use 22 mil wire that is insulated with a jacket, and the best way to get this and the cheapest way to get this is if you have any Cat 5 or Cat 6 cable running around. So that's just basically your simple networking cables. They're usually strands of 6 or 8 that are paired in white and a color, and then you can use these for your negative and positive leads. So when we continue with this series, we're going to look at the full process of making your non-DCC friendly switches DCC compliant. Next video will focus on preparing the turnout for the conversion, where you need to cut, where you need to remove ties, and how to remove these point rails if you do have the older pre-Walvers Shinohira turnouts that are obviously not DCC compatible. So that'll be the next video. As always, guys, thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.